For us to bring in our guest for the evening into the show, I would like to welcome Palash Mukherjee. He is a senior researcher with the Center for Science and Environment. He joins us here in the studio. Also, Dr. Vijay Kumar is here in studio with us. He is the principal consultant cardiologist with the Fortis Escorts Heart Center. And Vishal Uppal, former India tennis player, also joins us. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here this evening on NDTV. Palash, if I could quickly begin with you. The first India-New Zealand T20, of course, will be played tomorrow. The pollution levels, we are being told, is going to go through the roof. Just how bad will the pollution levels be when the match is on? The match starts at 7 p.m.
So, according to the Graded Response Action Plan, there are 5 stages of pollution, and we are already at stage 3. So, stage 3 is very poor. Stage 1 is safe, anything apart from that is not. So, we are at stage 3. The advice here is to restrict outdoor activity to as little as possible. So, it's going to be very strenuous for anybody who is exerting himself physically outside.
It will be very difficult. Let me take that to Vishal now. Vishal, as an athlete, you would agree that you need adequate oxygen supply because otherwise athletes can't really touch their peak performances. In that context, how difficult is it going to be, you think, for the cricketers who will be outdoors playing?
Well, I think the athletes also are in a habit of fine-tuning themselves to the to the task at hand. Of course, conditions are not ideal, far from ideal as a matter of fact. But the match has been scheduled and they're going to go out there and give it their best. That's what athletes are supposed to do, go out and give it their best. The conditions can definitely be improved a lot, but that has to be a sustained effort right throughout the year. You just can't come one day towards when this season comes and say, oh, pollution levels are bad. Exactly. We have to do something concrete about this year round so that we don't face this in the winter, and the citizens of Delhi can actually lead a better quality life.
Absolutely. It's interesting really that Vishal is saying, gentlemen, that when athletes prepare these days, this is one thing that they keep in mind, the pollution levels as well. Dr. Kumar, have you received or treated patients, even young kids who are budding cricketers or budding tennis players who have come to you with respiratory diseases because of the poor pollution levels?
Yeah, absolutely. In the seasons where the pollution is highest, especially the winters out in Delhi, we get numerous young patients and players, and especially children who play outside, and the players also, sportsmen who were all doing well. Suddenly they come with all sorts of respiratory tract problems, and we generally treat them, and it is very difficult to treat them because the damage that occurs to the respiratory tract slowly progresses to an irreversible state, and then these people keep suffering and getting all sorts of irreversible disease phenomena of the lungs.
Absolutely. Palash, the pollution board has said no to diesel generators as far as the DDCA is concerned, and they are now purchasing electricity from the government. And that was done because the diesel generators were banned in Delhi for a certain period of time till March 2018. But would you say that's really a small step?
Well, definitely, I would say it's a small step, but it's an important step, and more importantly, it's a reactive step. So it's in reaction to the prevalent pollution levels. It's not a preventive step. What must be looked into is that why was DDCA using diesel gensets in the first place? On a permanent basis, a permanent fixture like the Firozshah Kotla is using diesel generator sets to use for floodlights. This is unacceptable. We know that diesel is a source of pollution. Diesel fumes have been proven to be carcinogenic. So why is an authority like the DDCA promoting pollution?
Right, now since we are talking about pollution specifically, of course, in Delhi, of course, pollution levels all across India are rather poor. But since we are talking about Delhi in particular, let's quickly go across to Vishal for this. Vishal, how much has the air quality in Delhi really worsened from the time that you were playing to now? I'm not asking for any statistics here, but just how difficult has it become to play outdoors?
I can tell you it cut short my career because when, through 2006 to 2010, when Delhi was dug up for the Commonwealth Games, the dust and the pollution increased so much that I have a dust allergy, and that flared up so much that I had to cut short my career. I can tell you this for sure, that the air quality has deteriorated a fair amount over the years. But just coming back to one little point here also, what I am noticing, because I'm coaching a lot of youngsters, is that kids who are actually physically very active right throughout the year, they are coping with this air a lot better than kids who are inactive the entire year. So I would actually encourage all parents to get their kids out there playing in better conditions, so that when this weather comes, at least they can cope with things better.
Right, that's a very interesting point you make there, Vishal. I would like to take that to the doctor on our panel.
So here I would like to say that, as Vishal says, that kids should go out and they should do practice, but here is a point of medical importance, that if you compare a sedentary person with an athlete who runs, who trains himself more vigorously than a sedentary person, he is likely to get a dosage of pollution more than the sedentary person. So you have to be very careful where you train these kids, where you hold these matches, because these matches, if played in a polluted environment, these children, if they are made to run or do an exercise in a just adjacent to a 6-way lane or a park which is next to a very polluted area, you are going to give more dosage. They came out as healthy kids to shape their career as players of the future, but you are going to kill them by giving this slow poison of the pollution. So you have to identify urban parks, you have to identify places where you train these kids, where you hold your matches. Otherwise, the dosage of pollution which is going to go to these players and trainers, or the children who are in the making of a future players, because when they train themselves or when they are playing, their ventilatory rate, their respiratory rate is so high that they breathe from the mouth and as well as the lungs. So it is around 20 times they take more of this polluted air that we breathe. So it is very important for here that the players or the people who are behind these trainers or holding these matches, they have to take care that these matches are held, these people are trained, the kids are trained in proper places.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, if you, as you rate that the
hence
PM is 2.5 more than PM less than 10 or 2.5, if it is more than the desired level, then if you train these as young kids, they are going to suffer. They may not suffer for the first few years, but
so you are saying the more the exposure, of course, the greater the risk.
Yes.
Vishal, you wanted to come in with something?
Yeah, I'm saying hence I said that when the weather is better in Delhi, I mean, this pollution has really escalated over the last month or so perhaps. But before that, when the weather is great, I think we have to encourage kids to get out there and develop their lung power also. There has to be a solution found, but a bigger solution that has to be found is how we can curtail this pollution in Delhi, so that we can actually live a better lifestyle. I don't think this is a fair enough way of living, that in the winter you just sit inside your house and not do anything, and then in the summer couple of months you'll get something to do. I think the authorities, the government, has to do something very concrete to come up with some solutions. We cannot keep having these debates year after year after year after year and nothing is done. I think that's very unfair to the people of Delhi.
Absolutely. How times have changed, really. There's just so much that parents these days have to keep in mind before sending out their kids to play. I mean, forget about international athletes. Palash still here in the studio with us. Palash, how much is the Center for Science and Environment really worried that, yes, there are small steps being taken? You're saying that there are certain steps which are being taken, which is going a certain distance. But will we ever go back to a stage where Delhi's air can go back to the safe zone?
See, firstly, we have to understand that air pollution is not a problem that has come to us overnight.
Correct.
It's been around for a while, and therefore the solution cannot be brought in overnight. The steps that we take today will show effect in the coming years. And everybody, all the stakeholders, including the citizen, of course, the industry, the pollutants, the polluters, the vehicle owners, they all have a role to play in this. What's worrying is that the government somehow is not very responsive on this, because whatever has been done even this year has been done on by the intervention of the judiciary. The Supreme Court has to time and again step into this, and in fact, in my experience, the government has often fought efforts towards cleaner air quality. So that is very disturbing. More and more people need to step up and tell their local representatives, tell their political representatives that this is what we want. We want a cleaner Delhi. We want greener spaces. We don't want more parking. We don't want more congestion. We don't want wider roads, but we want a cleaner city.
So it has to be a consciousness that every individual of the country or the city has to have. It is not just the responsibility of the government or a healthy person or a sick person. a person who stays indoors or outdoors, every person's responsibility is to make a city clean. You will incinerate the things, you will do construction works without covering. So, you have to have the consciousness to bring the pollution levels to lower figures.
Absolutely. All right, we are almost out of time here,
yes,
but just enough time to put in. Yes, Vishal, I was just going to come to you, just enough time to squeeze in one last question for you. The kids that you're training these days, Vishal, how big a factor is pollution when it comes to their training? Because even when they're not playing in tournaments, they're outdoors most of the time training.
Yes, we also have to be very careful. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, we've had more instances of kids falling sick, with a cough and then getting fever. So we also have to be careful while training them, not to push them too hard, but yet do work in a way where they're getting enough training. So we have to be very careful also. But my sincerest request to the government of Delhi, the government of India, the citizens of Delhi, please do something concrete and let's try and get this city to breathe a lot better.
Absolutely. Remember, we can all do our small bit, our tiny bit to make the air quality, not just here in the capital, across the country really a little bit better. Completely run out of time though. I would like to thank all my panelists this evening, Polash Mukherjee, Dr. Vijay Kumar and Vishal Uppal. Thank you gentlemen for joining us this evening on NDTV.